Family lied to me. The Easter gathering was canceled because something came up. But on their post, "Your family seems nice," my colleague Mark commented, scrolling through my Instagram feed where I'd posted a photo from last Christmas. On the screen, 23 members of the Wilson clan beamed at the camera, matching sweaters creating a sea of festive red and green. Everyone looked perfectly comfortable, perfectly happy, perfectly familial. "They are," I replied automatically. What I didn't say: they also forget I exist half the time. My name is Amelia Wilson. I'm 36, and despite being the information systems manager for a Fortune 500 company, responsible for protecting millions of dollars of sensitive data and managing a team of 12 IT specialists, to my family, I am still the awkward, forgettable middle child who plays with computers. The one they call when their printer won't work, but don't think to include in vacation plans. The exclusion isn't malicious. It's worse than that, it's unconscious. They don't actively decide to leave me out. They simply don't think of me at all. My older sister Caroline organizes most family events, and in her mind, I'm perpetually busy with my computer stuff, too absorbed in technology to care about family gatherings. My younger brother Jason, the charming entertainment lawyer, is everyone's favorite emergency contact, the one whose calls get answered immediately. I'm the one whose texts might get a response in a day or two, if at all. This Easter was the final straw. "Sorry, Amelia, we have to cancel brunch," my mother had said over the phone 3 days before the holiday. "Your father's back is acting up, and Caroline has that thing with the kids. Let's plan for another weekend." I'd been disappointed but understanding, already mentally rearranging my Sunday to include a solo Netflix binge and possibly testing that sourdough starter kit I'd received for Christmas. But then, scrolling through Instagram while waiting for my laundry to finish, I saw a sun-dappled photo posted by my niece Emma, captioned, "Easter fun with the fam." There they all were, my parents, Caroline and her husband, Jason and his girlfriend, various cousins, aunts and uncles gathered around my parents' backyard table, Easter baskets visible in the background, my mother's signature deviled eggs front and center. Everyone was there except me. I stared at the photo until my eyes blurred, emotions cycling through me like a computer running too many programs simultaneously: shock, hurt, anger, and finally, a cold clarity. This wasn't an oversight. They had deliberately excluded me and then lied about it. As a person who spends her professional life solving complex problems through careful analysis and strategic implementation, I approached this revelation methodically. First, I needed more data. I scrolled back through social media posts, realizing with growing dismay that this wasn't an isolated incident. Photos from impromptu family dinners, weekend trips, even my nephew's school play events I'd never been informed about dotted my relatives' feeds. Second, I needed to understand the pattern. What made me so forgettable? Was it my job? My quiet personality? My single status in a family that prioritized partnerships and children? Or had I myself contributed to this exclusion by always being the reliable, uncomplaining one who never demanded attention? And third, I needed a solution. A permanent correction to this system error in my family's operating system. The answer came to me as I stared at the family group chat that had fallen silent when I asked about Easter. What my family needed wasn't another forgettable confrontation that would lead to temporary guilt, followed by a return to the status quo. They needed a complete reconfiguration of how they viewed Amelia Wilson, and I knew exactly how to make that happen. "Amelia, perfect timing." My cousin Layla's voice sounded genuinely pleased as she answered my call, a rarity in my family interactions. "I was just about to email you. I've got a huge favor to ask." Layla was the exception to my family exclusion problem. As the other brainy one in the Wilson clan, she was a research scientist at Johns Hopkins. We'd bonded over being the odd ones out at family gatherings. She was usually included because of her husband Roy's social skills and their adorable 4-year-old twins. "Before you ask your favor, I have a question," I said, settling into my ergonomic home office chair. Was Easter canceled, or was I just not invited? A painful silence fell. Shit, Layla finally said. You saw Emma's post. I did. I'm so sorry. Amelia, Caroline told everyone it was just an impromptu gathering because some people were already in town. I should have called you. Her voice was thick with remorse. There's no excuse. I appreciated her honesty, if not the revelation itself. It wasn't impromptu. Though, was it Mom called me specifically to cancel the original plans? No, it wasn't impromptu, Layla admitted. Look, if it helps, I got into a huge fight with Caroline about it. She gave some bullshit excuse about you being busy with work, and I told her she should at least have asked you. It didn't help much, but Layla's loyalty meant something. What was the favor you wanted to ask? I said, changing the subject before my emotions got the better of me. Actually, it's related, in a way. Layla audibly brightened. You know, Grandma and Grandpa's 60th anniversary is coming up in July. Uncle Richard suggested we do a big family reunion at the lake house, and I somehow got nominated to coordinate it. The lake house, my grandparents' sprawling property on Lake Michigan, had been the site of every major Wilson family event for decades. My childhood summers there were some of my happiest memories, before I became the forgettable middle child. Anyway, Layla continued, I'm completely overwhelmed. We're talking about 50-plus people over a whole weekend, with activities, meals, sleeping arrangements, the whole 9 yards. I was hoping, with your organizational skills, you want me to help plan it, I finished for her. Not just help, she clarified. I want you to basically take over the logistics. I'll handle the emotional labor of dealing with everyone's opinions and complaints, but I need someone who can create systems for this chaos. It's right up your alley. An idea began to form in my mind, a perfect algorithmic solution to my family problem. I'll do it, I said decisively. But I want to be clear, I'm not just helping behind the scenes. This needs to be a full partnership, with both our names on everything. Absolutely, Layla agreed immediately. God, thank you, you're literally saving my sanity. As we hung up, I opened a new document on my computer and began typing out a plan. My family had underestimated me for the last time. They saw me as the forgettable tech support, the reliable but unexciting middle child. By the end of this reunion, they would never forget to include Amelia Wilson again. Not because I would make a scene or demand attention that wasn't my style, but because I would become utterly indispensable. Well, is this really necessary? Caroline's voice dripped with skepticism as I explained the digital platform I'd created for the family reunion. We were on a Zoom call that Layla had organized with the core planning committee herself. Me, Caroline, my mother, and Aunt Patricia, my father's sister who fancied herself the family historian. 3 weeks had passed since Easter, and I had spent that time designing a comprehensive system for managing every aspect of the upcoming weekend. Unless you want to manually coordinate sleeping arrangements for 53 people across 8 bedrooms and various pull-out couches. Then yes, it's necessary, I replied, keeping my voice professionally pleasant. The platform lets everyone input their arrival and departure times, meal restrictions, activity preferences, and sleeping requirements. It then generates optimized schedules and arrangements that maximize everyone's preferences while minimizing conflicts. But not everyone is tech-savvy, my mother protested gently. Your Uncle Mike can barely send a text message, which is why I've created a simple mobile interface for the basics. And Layla and I will personally help anyone who struggles. I shared my screen to demonstrate the user-friendly design. Look, Mom, even Dad could navigate this, and he still prints out his emails. This earned a chuckle from Aunt Patricia. She's got you there, Margaret. Caroline wasn't so easily convinced. It just seems like overkill. We've managed family gatherings for decades without computerizing everything. I held my tongue, resisting the urge to point out the chaotic disasters that had resulted from Caroline's management of past events, the double-booked sleeping arrangements at Thanksgiving 3 years ago. The great food shortage fiasco of Christmas 2018. The cousins who missed the family photo at Grandpa's 75th birthday because nobody told them the time had been changed. Instead, I smiled. Think of it as me contributing in the way I'm best equipped to. You're amazing at decorations and creating beautiful spaces. Caroline, I'm good at systems that make everything run smoothly behind the scenes. Flattery worked its magic. Caroline preened slightly at the acknowledgement of her aesthetic talents. Well, I suppose if it helps Layla with the workload. It absolutely will. Layla jumped in. Amelia's already saved me countless hours. And wait until you see the anniversary video concept she's developed. This was my second strategic move, volunteering to create a multimedia tribute to my grandparents' 6 decades together. It would feature photos and videos spanning their entire relationship, including contributions from every family member. The catch: everyone would need to work directly with me to submit their materials. I'll need at least one personal story or message from each household, I explained. I've set up individual appointments over the next few weeks to record these properly. You're going to interview everyone, my mother asked, surprised. It's the best way to ensure quality and consistency, I replied. Don't worry, I've already worked out a schedule that accommodates everyone's availability. What I didn't mention was that these interviews would serve a dual purpose, beyond gathering content for the video. They would establish direct personal connections with family members who had grown accustomed to ignoring me. They would be forced to see me not as the background tech support, but as the keeper of their precious memories, the architect of this significant family milestone. By the end of the call, even Caroline had reluctantly agreed to my systems. Layla shot me a private text as we signed off. You're brilliant and slightly terrifying. I love this side of you. I smiled at my screen. Phase 1 was complete. I had positioned myself at the center of the family reunion web. Now it was time for Phase 2, becoming unforgettable. Over the next 2 months, I conducted 37 interviews with various Wilson family members. I sat across from cousins I hadn't really spoken to in years, uncles who usually just nodded at me at Christmas, second cousins who probably couldn't have picked me out of a lineup before our sessions. I designed these interviews carefully. While the ostensible purpose was gathering material for Grandma and Grandpa's video, I structured each conversation to gradually reveal aspects of myself that my family had overlooked. With Uncle Richard, who ran a small construction business, I discussed the network security system I had designed that protected contractors from increasingly common ransomware attacks. With my fashion-conscious Aunt Patricia, I shared stories about the cybersecurity conference I'd attended in Milan last year, casually mentioning the Italian designers I'd discovered. For relatives who had children, I created personalized digital scavenger hunts based on their kids' interests, demonstrating that Aunt Amelia was not just the computer person, but someone who actually paid attention to what their children cared about. Each interaction was strategic, aimed at replacing the vague, forgettable image of Amelia with something more distinct and valuable. I was careful never to seem like I was showing off or demanding attention that would have backfired spectacularly with my achievement-oriented family. Instead, I simply allowed my competence and personality to be visible rather than hidden behind my usual accommodating silence. The family reunion platform became increasingly central to everyone's planning. As expected, it streamlined the typically chaotic process, automatically resolving conflicts that would have previously resulted in dozens of text messages and hurt feelings. When the system matched dietary restrictions with meal plans and sent personalized shopping lists to the designated food buyers, Caroline actually called me to express genuine appreciation. This would have taken me days to figure out, she admitted. You've thought of everything, Amelia. Not everything, I replied. I still need your expertise on the table settings and decor. The system can tell us who sits where based on preferences and family dynamics, but it can't make it beautiful. This collaborative approach, acknowledging others' strengths while demonstrating my own, proved effective. Family members who had previously looked through me began to see me. They started calling for advice beyond technology questions, consulting me on scheduling conflicts and interpersonal dynamics. Even Jason, my perpetually cool younger brother who had perfected the art of the friendly dismissal, began texting me directly rather than going through Caroline as he usually did for family matters. This reunion planning is actually pretty impressive. Ames, he wrote. Didn't know you had it in you. I replied with a simple, there's a lot you don't know about me, and left it at that, allowing the implied challenge to linger. By early July, Just 2 weeks before the reunion, I had become an essential node in the family network. The previously invisible middle child was now the person everyone relied on, the one who held the keys to the weekend's success. But the real test would come at the lake house itself, where established family dynamics had a way of reasserting themselves. I was prepared for that too. Ew. The Wilson family reunion began on a perfect July Friday, sunshine glinting off Lake Michigan as cars pulled into the long gravel driveway of my grandparents' property. I had arrived the day before, along with Layla and a few other relatives who'd volunteered for setup duty. My command center was established in the lake house's sunroom, with 3 monitors connected to my laptop displaying different aspects of the weekend's operations, the real-time location sharing map showing when each family unit would arrive, the meal preparation schedules, and the activities roster. A large physical whiteboard held the sleeping arrangements chart, color-coded and meticulously organized to prevent the usual chaos of people claiming rooms. "Good Lord, it looks like you're running a military operation," my father commented as he entered, dropping his suitcase by the door. "Not military," I corrected with a smile, "just efficient." He shook his head, bemused. "Well, your mother and I are just happy to not be in charge this time. Where are we sleeping?" I pointed to the whiteboard. "Master bedroom on the 2nd floor, as usual. Caroline and her family have the blue room and adjoining den. Jason and Sophia are in the boathouse guest room. And you?" "I'll be in the small room off the kitchen," I replied. It was where I usually ended up the least desirable sleeping space, as it was small, lacked a view, and was directly below the creaky hallway that guaranteed early morning wake-ups from footsteps overhead. My father frowned. "That tiny room? But you're organizing everything. Shouldn't you have one of the better spaces?" His concern, while appreciated, was exactly according to plan. "It's fine, Dad. I set up the assignments based on everyone's preferences and needs. Families with kids needed the larger spaces." The seeds of recognition were being planted. My father looked at me with what appeared to be new awareness, noticing my sacrifice rather than simply accepting it as the natural order. As more relatives arrived, I moved smoothly between welcoming them and ensuring the system continued to function. Each family received a personalized welcome package containing their schedule, a map of the property, and specially selected amenities based on preferences they'd entered in my platform. "How did you know Max needed new sun goggles?" Caroline asked, genuinely impressed as her 9-year-old son gleefully tried on the UV protective eyewear I'd included in their welcome bag. "He mentioned losing his old pair when I interviewed him for Grandma and Grandpa's video," I explained. "I pay attention." The subtle emphasis on those last 3 words wasn't lost on Caroline. A flicker of discomfort crossed her face, the first acknowledgement that perhaps she hadn't been paying attention to me. The first evening culminated in a lakeside barbecue, as everyone gathered on the sprawling back lawn, drinks in hand and children darting between clusters of adults. I finally allowed myself to step back from the organizing and simply observe. My family loud, loving, complicated spread out before me, all present because of systems I had created, connections I had nurtured. "Quite a change from Easter." "Huh?" Layla murmured. Appearing at my side with 2 glasses of wine, she handed me one. "What do you mean?" I asked, though I knew exactly what she was referring to. "You know what I mean. Easter. You were excluded. Today. You're the center of everything. Nobody can function without consulting Amelia first." She clinked her glass against mine. "It's a good look on you." I smiled, watching as my Uncle Mike waved frantically for my attention across the lawn, no doubt needing help with the Bluetooth speaker system I'd set up. "The weekend's just getting started." "True," Layla agreed. "But Phase 1 of Operation Make Everyone Realize Amelia is actually important seems to be a roaring success." I laughed. "That's not what I'm calling it." "Well, you should be. It's working." She wasn't wrong. Throughout the evening, family members approached me not just for technical support, but for conversation. My cousin's children, who previously might not have known my name, now called me Aunt Amelia, who makes the cool computer stuff. Even my perpetually distracted father sought me out to discuss a documentary series we'd both watched, a shared interest neither of us had known about until my interview with him for the anniversary video. By the time I retired to my tiny bedroom that night, I felt a tentative optimism. The invisibility that had defined my family role for so long was beginning to lift. But the real test, the moment I had been carefully orchestrating since Easter, would come tomorrow night with the anniversary celebration and video premiere. Saturday unfolded with the precision of a well-executed program. Morning activities, fishing, hiking. Crafts for the kids ran according to the schedules everyone had received. Meals appeared at designated times, with dietary needs seamlessly accommodated. The usually stressful process of getting 53 Wilsons to cooperate moved with surprising smoothness. "I don't understand how you're doing all this and still seem completely calm," my mother commented as I helped her arrange flowers for the evening's dinner tables. "Usually these gatherings have at least 3 meltdowns by now, and I haven't seen you even break a sweat." "Systems, Mom," I replied, placing a perfect white rose in the center of an arrangement. "Good systems make chaos manageable." She studied me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Is that what you do at work? Create systems?" I realized with a start that after 14 years in my career, my mother had only the vaguest understanding of my job. Among other things, yes, I design information architectures that protect data while making it accessible to the right people. I manage a team of specialists who implement those systems across a global corporation. "That sounds important," she said hesitantly, as if this possibility had never occurred to her before. "It is," I confirmed simply. "I'm good at what I do, Mom, really good." She nodded slowly. "I'm starting to see that." Another small victory in my campaign to be truly seen by my family. As the afternoon progressed, I orchestrated the setup for the evening celebration. The boathouse had been transformed into an elegant venue with white linen tablecloths, twinkling lights, and a projection screen for the anniversary video. Each table featured photographs of my grandparents throughout their 60 years together, carefully selected from family archives. At 6 o'clock, I retreated to my room for a quick change into the dress I'd selected specifically for this evening, a deep emerald silk that complemented my eyes and skin tone, more striking than my usual understated attire. As I applied makeup with a slightly heavier hand than normal, I reminded myself of my purpose not to seek validation or approval, but to claim the space I deserved in this family. The celebration began at 7. My grandparents, still vibrant and sharp in their 80s, sat at the head table, beaming as relatives offered toasts and shared memories. I circulated smoothly between the technical aspects, ensuring the microphone worked, cueing the slideshow transitions and social interactions, no longer hiding behind my laptop as I might have at previous gatherings. Then came the moment I'd been building toward, the premiere of the anniversary video. "Before we show this," I said, stepping to the front of the room with a microphone, "I want to thank everyone for sharing their stories and memories. This project has been enlightening for me." The room quieted, perhaps responding to the unexpected gravity in my tone. "Many of you have expressed surprise at my involvement in organizing this weekend," I continued, making brief eye contact with various family members. "Some have seemed almost shocked that I was capable of creating systems that actually worked, or that I had interests beyond fixing your printers." A nervous titter ran through the audience. Caroline shifted uncomfortably in her seat. "It's made me realize that perhaps I've been too quiet about who I really am, too accepting of being overlooked or forgotten." My voice remained calm, but I allowed genuine emotion to color my words. Like, for instance, at Easter, when I was told family brunch was canceled but later discovered it had proceeded without me. A palpable discomfort settled over the room. My mother looked down at her lap. Jason's eyes widened in genuine surprise. Apparently, he hadn't known about the deception. "I'm not sharing this to make anyone feel bad," I clarified, though the flush on Caroline's cheeks suggested I'd succeeded in doing exactly that. "I'm sharing it because I've realized that relationships, like good information systems, require honest communication to function properly. And honestly, I've been hurt by how easy it's been for my family to forget I exist." The silence was deafening. My grandfather, always the patriarch, cleared his throat. "Amelia, my dear," I held up a hand gently. "It's okay. Grandpa, this isn't about assigning blame, it's about recalibrating expectations. I smiled, softening the moment. Consider this weekend my personal system update. Version 2.0 of Amelia Wilson's still the same reliable software, just with better user interfaces and notifications when I'm being ignored. This earned a surprised laugh from several relatives, breaking the tension slightly. Now, I continued, let's watch this celebration of two people who have never taken each other for granted for 60 years. I stepped back as the lights dimmed and the video began. For the next 20 minutes, the room was filled with laughter, tears, and exclamations of delight as decades of family history unfolded on screen. The careful editing, the thoughtful integration of stories from every branch of the family tree, the beautiful scoring, it all came together in a way that visibly moved everyone present, especially my grandparents. When the lights came back up, my grandmother was dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. "Amelia," she called out, her voice wavering with emotion. "Come here, dear." I made my way to her table, where she took both my hands in hers. "That was the most beautiful gift anyone has ever given us. You saw us, truly saw us, and captured exactly what our life together has meant." "That's what I do, Grandma," I replied softly. "I pay attention to the details that matter." The rest of the evening unfolded with a noticeably different energy. Family members approached me not with the distracted half-attention I was accustomed to, but with genuine engagement. My cousins asked about my work, my hobbies, my life in ways they never had before. Jason confessed he had no idea I was such a badass at managing stuff. Even Caroline, after several glasses of wine, pulled me aside for what appeared to be a painful attempt at an apology. "About Easter," she began awkwardly. "I didn't think that I'd find out, or that I'd care," I interrupted, not unkindly. She winced. "Both, I guess. It wasn't personal. Amelia, I just assumed you'd be busy with work or wouldn't be interested in the chaos of the kids hunting eggs." "You never asked me," I pointed out. "You just decided for me, like always." Caroline looked genuinely stricken. "I've been doing that for years. Haven't I?" "Yes," I confirmed. "All of you have." "I'm sorry," she said, and for perhaps the first time in our adult relationship, she seemed to actually mean it. Later that night, as the party wound down and family members drifted off to their assigned rooms, my parents approached me on the boathouse deck, where I was taking a moment alone to decompress. "We need to talk about what you said earlier," my father began without preamble. "About Easter and about being forgotten." I nodded, maintaining the calm confidence I'd cultivated throughout the weekend. "I meant what I said. It wasn't about making anyone feel guilty. It was about being honest about how I feel." "We never meant to make you feel invisible, Amelia," my mother said, distress evident in her voice. "You've always been so self-sufficient, so capable of handling things on your own. I suppose we got used to you not needing us." "Not needing help isn't the same as not wanting to be included," I replied. "Everyone needs connection, Mom, even your hyper-competent middle child." My father sighed heavily. "We've taken you for granted, looking at everything you've done this weekend, the organization, the video. Even making sure everyone had their favorite snacks in their rooms, it's clear how much attention you pay to everyone else. And we haven't been giving you the same consideration." "No," I agreed simply, "you haven't." "Can we do better?" my mother asked tentatively. "Will you give us the chance?" I looked at my parents, genuinely contrite, genuinely trying to understand, and felt the hard shell I'd built around myself these past few months soften slightly. "Yes," I said finally. "But I'm not going back to being the forgotten daughter. This version of Amelia expects to be remembered, included, and respected. I've always been this person, you just weren't seeing me clearly." They nodded, accepting this new reality. As they walked away, arms around each other, I turned back to the lake, watching moonlight dance across the gentle waves. The weekend hadn't fixed everything. Of course, old patterns don't dissolve overnight, but I had disrupted the system enough to force a recalibration. I had shown my family who I truly was, not just the tech support, not just the reliable but forgettable middle child, but a woman of depth, capability, and worth. And they had finally seen me. The next morning, as families began to pack up and depart, I overheard my nephew Max ask Caroline, When are we seeing Aunt Amelia again? Soon, Caroline promised, catching my eye across the lawn. We're not going to let her disappear on us anymore. I smiled and gave her a small nod. Version 2.0 of Amelia Wilson was here to stay visible, valued, and absolutely unforgettable.